I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 190, Manipulation or Influence, How to Tell the Difference After Infidelity. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to another episode of Heal from Infidelity. I am not going to waste any time today. I'm going to jump right in. Jump. Here we go, okay? I decided to record an episode for you today about the difference between manipulation and influence, and how to lead from a place of strength and influence after infidelity, how to know if you're being manipulated. And we could talk for many episodes about this, but we're going to touch on it today, all right? Why did I decide to do this episode? I decided to do this episode because after infidelity, sometimes people falsely think that if somebody stops cheating or stops fooling around or whatever it may be, that they can just fix the marriage and everything will be okay. And the person who was unfaithful can get frustrated with the speed. They can say, we've been doing this for this long now. Why do you keep bringing it up? Right? They can say, look, I did what you said. I cut off contact. I did this. I did that. Right? And it can get very confusing. And sometimes both parties involved are missing the mark. Okay. Often. And in the context of this podcast episode, often what happens is the symptom, which was whatever form of infidelity arises, is divulged, is found out, whatever it may be. And without looking at what caused the symptom in the first place, we are totally missing the mark. And sometimes what I see with my clients is that they are still living in patterns of manipulation, in patterns of very sneaky types of abuse, very sneaky types of control, either living with it from their partners or engaging in it themselves sometimes. And until we can really understand what this looks like, we often do what we do, right? We often keep doing it. My intention here is to help shine a light on all of this, to shine a light on seeing the deeper patterns, like looking at some of these patterns here, because until we really slow things down and take a bigger view of the whole picture of all the parts involved, the patterns often repeat themselves again and again and again. Okay. Not necessarily that they cheat again, not necessarily that, but sometimes these patterns show up in other ways. If there's some kind of manipulation that was happening before the infidelity and it's not really addressed and we're not seeing it, we often just continue doing it because we don't know any different, because we haven't learned how to do something different, or because we don't recognize that we're doing it, or that we like that control and we're afraid to let it go. Okay. So I've been thinking about this after talking to different clients and different calls and recognizing how sometimes they are trying to keep their eye on if the behavior is stopped and missing the deeper stuff of, okay, what's underneath that, and what are the relational patterns, and where is there maybe manipulation happening here one way or another to try to get some kind of outcome. And let's just shine a light. Okay. All right. So you are going to learn today the difference between manipulation and influence and how both show up in relationships touched by infidelity, and how to shift this into your own courageous leadership, into your own courageous moves that are going to drive things forward and disengage with some of these patterns. Okay. All right. So first, let's define what's the difference between manipulation and influence. Manipulation and influence, you're both kind of trying to determine how something goes, right? But manipulation comes from a place of fear, either a fear of loss, a fear of rejection, discomfort, lack, something that you don't want to face, something that you're afraid of. And so if I can just control how this goes, then I don't have to feel that way. Okay. Manipulation is self-serving. It's very agenda-driven. It's about getting something, extracting something, compliance, approval, certainty. There's something that we are trying to extract by manipulating the situation, okay? In the case of parent, sometimes our parents can be quite manipulative in trying to get us to behave in certain ways, or we can be with our own, where we're going to say that it would mean so much to me if you would do this thing, or it would make me so sad if you don't do this thing. And we can play with that kid's emotions to try to control what they do rather than managing our own emotions and letting them choose. Okay. We can influence, but manipulating is rather, I don't want to feel this way, child. And so as long as if you do this, then I get to feel better. So I'm going to manipulate you into doing it this way so I get to feel this way. Often covert manipulation is disguised as care. It's creepy, it's sneaky, it's very slippery, okay? I just want what's best for you. I just want what's best for you. This is what I think is best for you. And do you want to X, Y, and Z consequence, right? Don't you want something better? Okay, you can use guilt, pressure, withholding, flattery, love bombing, all kinds of things to steer the outcome. It can look very sneaky. It can look like, I'm going to treat you like dirt most of the time, and then every once in a while, I'm going to make a really grand gesture. And then when you try to point out the things that I do that are rotten, it's like, gosh, it's never going to be enough for you. Look, I just did this thing. It's intended to throw you off the scent. Okay, manipulation, and especially in abuse situations, it's like if we get too close to the thing they don't want to deal with, they can throw you off the scent by manipulating you and making you wrong, making you the problem and steering the outcome. Okay. Influence comes from inner strength, clarity, and courage. Influence seeks the betterment of everyone involved, even if it risks discomfort. This looks like asking everyone to rise, asking everyone to maybe let's do things different than we were. It's saying, heck, I might have to feel something really difficult too, but I really think it's for the better of everybody, right? Influence is rooted in truth, transparency, and personal responsibility. I am being honest first with myself, and I'm being responsible for the outcome that I want, but I can handle it if I don't get what I want. I can first control myself and then use that self-control, that self-emotional regulation, all of those things to then use my voice to speak up for what I think is best and honestly what I want, right? But I can handle it if I don't get what I want. Okay, it offers a clear invitation rather than forcing an outcome. All right. Manipulation takes power from others. Influence radiates power from the person speaking and often invites others into their own personal power. Okay. It's not, I hold the power here and you don't. Influence is we all have power and I'm inviting you to step into it. All right. Manipulation in the context of infidelity. Sometimes before infidelity occurs, rather, I will say sometimes before it is found out, the person who is being unfaithful could be using manipulation to try to cover their tracks, to try to get the other person off their scent, to try to make them think that what they are seeing is not what they're seeing. Gaslighting at its finest, right? To try to take the focus off of them. For my clients who were betrayed, trying to manage your partner's behavior so they don't stray can be part of this, okay? Monitoring, people pleasing, to where you're not even telling the truth about what you want or who you are or what you like, what you don't like. You're maybe staying silent to avoid conflict. How is that manipulative? Sometimes that's manipulative because it's like, if I don't rock the boat, if I don't do anything contrary, he doesn't have any legs to stand on, or she, this can go either way. And I can push for what I want, right? Staying inauthentic to keep the peace or to stay chosen. This can be a form of manipulation. by using that silence and using that peace and not being real to keep things a certain way or to push things a certain way without pushing themselves internally towards something better. It's like, I don't know how to manage this within myself, so I'm going to ask you, I'm going to manipulate you to not do this thing or to do this thing so that I don't have to deal with confronting these things within myself. Sometimes we can use sex or affection or withdrawal as tools for compliance. I'm just going to pull away from you until you come begging, until you come crawling, until you are asking me what's wrong. And then maybe I'll tell you, maybe I won't, right? But I got you right where I want you. That's manipulative. Using sex as a means to hold something over you. Like, now I gave in and I did this. And so now you owe me, okay? Or affection, now you owe me. And this goes both ways. It goes both ways. Sometimes, like I said, those grand gestures of, look how amazing though. Look at everything I do for you. Look at all the things I do for you. Or look how well I take care of everything. And on both sides, sometimes it's, I'm such a great provider. I've given you this life. I've given you everything you have. How can you possibly complain? And this can be used as a means to keep the other one silent and to actually make them maybe feel guilty. Or, look at all that I do. I take care of the home. I take care of the kids. I do all of these things. And how can you say that you want more? How dare you? How could you say you want more? Look what I'm already doing. I'll never be enough. After infidelity occurs, manipulation can look like wanting to hurt them like they hurt you, even if it's unconscious. Punishing behaviors. It can look like the person who did the betraying using words like, when's it going to be enough? I've told you everything. Why do you need more? I'm getting really tired of this. Why do you keep bringing this up? Why is this manipulative? And I want to make a point here. Okay, sometimes it's honest. Sometimes it is like, I'm actually really tired of this. I'm really, really tired. The question is this used in a way to shut the other person down? Or is this used in a way to communicate and say, this is hard and I want to know, like, what do you need and what can we do together? And I am really tired. Okay. Those things are different. After infidelity, the one who was betrayed often tries to control the show of how the other person shows remorse, of how fast they change, or they use shaming to feel powerful again. They feel so powerless. This thing happened right under my nose and I feel powerless and I am going to grab that power right back. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to shame you. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to let you see what an SOB you are, right? And we can use that in a manipulative way to try to extract some kind of emotional response out of the other person. If I make them hurt enough, then they'll understand how much they hurt me. If I show them how much I hurt, then they'll never do it again type thing, right? Or if you really loved me, you would X, Y, and Z, disguised as a plea for safety, but rooted in fear. Okay, now this can be a little bit tricky because sometimes we do ask for things because we are afraid and we are asking them to please help us with our fear. All right, that's not a problem. Like, hey, for right now, if you could take a break from this thing that you do that for right now, for today, feels really overwhelming to me, can you do that? Can you help me out there as I'm working on these things, okay? What I'm saying here is where we are manipulating their emotions by, if you loved me, we're assuming that there's only one way to show that you love, right? We're kind of pulling at that person's heartstrings of, oh my gosh, if I don't, then they're not going to think that I love them, so I have to do it. Or we are setting ourselves up for a recipe of massive resentment because this person is trying to show you that they're sorry, but it's very much prescribed, like a prescription of what they have to do. And they sometimes don't feel like there's room for them to show up organically of real repair in a way that feels true to them, okay? Influence, on the other hand, in the context of infidelity. Before infidelity, it looks like living in alignment with your values and communicating them clearly. I will say that in most cases, I'll be blunt here, most of my couples and my individuals don't have a lot of this going on. There's a lot of fear that one person might be trying to get something moving. They might be trying to asking, say, hey, we're in trouble, can we get help? But sometimes the way they are asking is very fear-based and pushes the other person away or makes them feel backed against a wall. Sometimes we're not willing to say anything at all and go silent and stonewall. And there's not a lot of it. But if it was there, it would look like one person saying, I'm not going to capitulate to the things that you're doing, and I'm going to stand in my values and communicate them. And then the other person gets their choice of what they're going to do, right? Living in your own influence looks like being willing to be disliked, misunderstood, or even left rather than abandoning yourself. It means leading by example. How you handle hard conversations, how you handle boundaries, how you handle disconnection. How do I come back into the conversation, or do I wait for them every time? How do I try to create a bridge where we are communicating, right? This is influence. And it can sometimes look like manipulation because sometimes strong language is used. Sometimes we are making really strong requests. This is what I want. This is what I want. These are the things that I need. I want to give this a go. I want to give this a go, but these are the things that I need. And this is what I want. And you get to choose who you want to be and what you want. But I also get to choose what I'm willing to continue to stay in. That can sound like manipulation, but when it's coming from somebody's first internal leadership of their internal integrity of this is what I stand for. And I will let this all burn to the ground in the name of standing up for myself, and then letting the other person slash and kick and scream and maybe not like it. And they're like really flailing, right? And the person with that influence, that person with that inner strength is willing to stand there and not cave, right? As sometimes the manipulation from the other party kicks up and gets more intense, okay? Influence becomes a leadership quality. Like, I am willing to go first and I'm okay with going first, right? It means modeling emotional resilience, self-respect, and growth, saying this is who I am, and I trust you to decide who you want to be in response. Whereas control is more, this is who I need you to be so I can be okay. It's reverse, right? It's the opposite order. One is internally led from strength. One is more externally led. If I need the outside things to look this way for my internal world to be okay. How to tell which one you're in. I've got some questions here for you. Ask yourself these questions. Am I trying to create a specific outcome, or am I inviting one? What's the difference? If we absolutely need something to go a certain way for us to feel okay, we're likely going to pull out all kinds of manipulative tactics to make sure that we get this outcome. When we can grow some security around no matter what, I will be okay. No matter what, I will figure this out. We don't need it to go a certain way for us to be okay. We know that we can handle it. Another question, am I willing for this not to go my way? Am I willing? Is my action rooted in fear or grounded in self-leadership, grounded in my own personal integrity? Am I being honest or strategic? Ouch, right? Am I being honest or strategic? Is this me telling the truth and letting it lie? Or am I using this as a way to get something, right? Am I using this as a way to push buttons that I know how to push, okay? So if you have been listening thus far and notice areas where you maybe lean on the side of manipulation, this is some of the things that you can do to shift it. Stop managing the impression that you're making. Stop managing what the other person is thinking of you or how they are relating to you, what their reaction is to you, okay? And start expressing from truth. Start expressing from truth. Like, this is what it is, and I'm not here to manage your response to it, okay? We can feel a lot of discomfort when we are watching them try to pull you back into the pattern that you're in, and you keep yourself grounded and going, nope, I'm not playing that game anymore. Another shift is to stop hinting and to start naming. We're not tiptoeing around anymore. We're not throwing in little hints and hoping that they get it. We are naming it. We are saying it out loud. Stop expecting and start requesting. We're not going to live in silence and hope we get what we want. We're going to say what we want and ask for what we want. That is a kindness. Stop using emotion as a weapon. All right. I feel this way and it's your fault that I feel this way. Instead, this is how I feel and this is what's going on for me. It's information, not a weapon. Okay. It's information. It's what's going on for us. And we are using it as information to communicate, not to extract. Learn how to sit with the discomfort of not being in control. Hard stuff, right? Hard stuff to loosen up our grip of being in control. Okay, so I know that I barely touched on this. I could spend hours going into this. I could go into all kinds of different stories, all kinds of examples, but for today's purposes, this is like surface level. I want you to listen and like check in with yourself and go, where do I manipulate and where is my influence and what's the difference for me? And the sooner that you can recognize for yourself which way you lean and what you want to do about it, the better it will be. And honestly, the thing that's kind of wild is that we actually up our chances of getting what we want when we shift away from control and into influence. Okay, influence is powerful. Influence says, I care about all of us. I care about the collective. I care about you. I care about me. Like, I want the best thing for all of us here. And we're really standing up for it. We're really like putting our stake in the ground saying, this is what I stand for. And I really hope you come with me. Okay. Manipulation is like, we see that stake in the ground and we're like trying to drag their butts there, right? When sometimes they don't want to be dragged. So notice in yourself where you lean. We're not going to judge it, okay? We all sometimes manipulate. We all do. And I'm inviting you into your influence, okay? I'm going to use my influence to invite you into yours, all right? You got things to say. You have things that you want. You have things that you need. And how can you shift from this fear-based trying to extract it from somebody so you can feel better to this is what I am standing up for. And this is what I want to have in a relationship. And I am willing to go first. All right. All right. Final thoughts here. And I'm going to wrap it up. Manipulation is about avoiding pain. Influence is about growing through it. Okay, manipulation, we don't want to go there. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to face it. So I'm going to make it your problem. I'm going to twist you up in knots so that I don't have to face it. Influence is saying, bring it on. It's saying, I don't love pain, but we're saying I'm willing to go through the pain in order to have this thing that I know is better for me and likely better for the collective. Influence is what creates trust over time. Not because of control, but because of truth and consistency. We can see that we are with somebody who is willing to say the hard things. What? Willing to share how they actually feel, willing to put it out there, willing to risk that you might not be happy with what they say and they say it anyway. That is huge. This is where relationships repair trust, okay? And this is where we really can influence how this thing goes. So I want you to ask yourself, where have I been trying to control outcomes out of fear? And what might shift if I led with influence instead? All right, that's what I got for you today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I would be so grateful if you would take the time to go leave a review wherever you listen. They absolutely matter. They absolutely count. Please go leave a review. You can do it in a name that is not yours. You can change it very easily to a name that's not yours if you're more comfortable with that. But please leave a review so those that are looking for a podcast about recovering from infidelity, changing relationships after infidelity, will be led to this one, right? So more people can learn and heal. All right, thank you. Take care. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.